Life has a way of teaching us lessons through relationships, through the people we trust, love, and sometimes even sacrifice for. But what do you do when the very people you poured into, the ones you lifted up, turn around and hurt you? What do you do when they leave you broken only to return as if nothing happened? You see, people don't always recognize the value of something when they have it. Some take kindness for weakness. Some mistake patience for permission. Some confuse love with availability, and so they walk away thinking they can do better elsewhere. They reject what was given to them freely, not realizing that true connections are not easily replaced. But here's the truth. When they walk away, they soon discover that not every table offers the same feast. Not every heart carries the same grace. And not every soul is built to endure and uplift them the way yours did. So they come back. Not always because they love you, not always because they have changed, but because they have realized what they lost. Now the question is not why they return. The real question is, will you accept them the same way? Will you allow history to repeat itself? Will you open the same door to the same pain? Or will you recognize that sometimes people come back not because they belong, but because they are lost? Forgiveness is powerful, but wisdom is even greater. You can release the pain without returning to the prison. You can let go without giving them access again. Because not everyone who leaves deserves a second entrance. And not everyone who returns has learned their lesson. Some come back to test if they still have power over you. Some return to see if you have healed or if you are still waiting. And some, my friend, come back simply because they see that you have moved on. And they can't stand the thought of you thriving without them. People often don't recognize value until they lose it. This is a reality that plays out in many aspects of life, especially in relationships. When someone is always present, always available, and always giving, their presence can become something that others take for granted. It is not because they are intentionally ungrateful, but because human nature often fails to appreciate what seems constant. What is readily available is rarely seen as precious. In the beginning, when people enter our lives, they see what we have to offer: our kindness, our love, our patience, our support. They embrace it, they enjoy it, and they even benefit from it. But over time, familiarity begins to dull their appreciation. The very qualities that once drew them in become normal to them. They stop saying thank you. They stop valuing the presence that once made a difference in their lives. They assume that what has always been there will always be there. When someone has access to something good for too long without the responsibility of reciprocation, they can begin to feel entitled. They assume they can always return, always receive, and always be welcomed. They may not even realize that they are devaluing what they have been given. Instead, they start looking elsewhere, thinking that something better is waiting for them. It is a deception many fall into, the belief that the grass is greener somewhere else. So they leave. They pursue other interests, other people, other opportunities. They convince themselves that they can do without what they once cherished. And sometimes they even walk away with arrogance, believing that their absence will not affect anything, believing that they have options that are more rewarding. They leave assuming that they are moving towards something greater. But life has a way of revealing the truth. Time has a way of showing what the eyes refuse to see. When they step away, they begin to realize that what they once had was not so common. They encounter people who do not have the same patience, the same love, the same grace. They enter spaces where they are not honored, where they are not treated with the same kindness, where they are not understood in the way they once were. At first, they may ignore the difference, believing they just need to adjust, that they will eventually find what they are looking for. But as time goes on, as they experience disappointments, as they see the flaws in the choices they made, they start remembering, they start reflecting, they start realizing that what they had was rare, that what they walked away from was not easily replaced. They recognize that not every heart is as giving, not every soul is as patient, and not every love is as pure. This realization often comes too late. The very thing they dismissed as ordinary was actually extraordinary. The very person they overlooked was actually one of a kind. But it is only in absence that they learn the lesson. It is only when they can no longer reach what they once had that they see its true worth. And so they come back. Sometimes they return with an apology, with an explanation, with regret in their eyes. Other times they come back silently, trying to reconnect as if nothing ever happened. They test the waters to see if the door is still open, if the same grace is still available. They come back not because they truly value you now, but because they finally understand what they lost. They come back because they have realized that not everyone will treat them the way you did. Not everyone who returns has changed. Some come back out of regret, not love. When people walk away, they often do so believing they are making the right choice. They may think they have found something better, that they are moving toward greater opportunities, or that their life will improve without you. In their mind, leaving is a step forward, a decision that benefits them. They convince themselves that they no longer need what they once had, that their absence will not matter. But life has a way of teaching lessons through experience. Time reveals what emotions and assumptions cannot. When someone walks away, they may initially feel relief, excitement, or even a sense of freedom. They immerse themselves in their new choices, enjoying the novelty of what they pursued. But as time goes on, the reality of their decision begins to set in. They start to encounter struggles they did not anticipate. They realize that what they thought was better may not be as fulfilling as they imagined. They face disappointments, broken expectations, and situations that make them reflect on what they left behind. Regret begins to creep in when they realize that not everyone will tolerate them the way you did. Not everyone will understand them, forgive them, or stand by them in difficult moments. They see that relationships are not easily replaceable, that genuine love is not something they can find anywhere. They begin to compare their new experiences with what they had before, and slowly they recognize that they lost something valuable. Regret is a powerful feeling, but it is not the same as change. When regret takes hold, people often seek to undo their mistakes. They return not necessarily because they have become better, but because they want to erase the consequences of their actions. They come back because they feel the weight of their choices, not because they have transformed as individuals. Their return is not always about love. It is about trying to recover what they lost. It is important to understand the difference between someone who has truly changed and someone who simply regrets losing access to you. Change requires self-awareness, growth, and a deep understanding of what went wrong. It requires taking responsibility for one's actions, learning from past mistakes, and making an intentional effort to be better. True change is evident in behavior, not just words. A changed person does not just say, "I'm sorry." They demonstrate through actions that they will not repeat the same patterns. Regret, on the other hand, is focused on self-interest. It is not always about you. It is about them and how they feel about their own decisions. Regret looks for comfort, not correction. It wants to soothe the discomfort of loss, not necessarily repair the damage done. Regret brings apologies without accountability, emotions without effort, and promises without proof. Some people return because they miss the security, the attention, and the unconditional love they once had. They remember how you made them feel, how you supported them, how you forgave them. They come back because they are struggling, not because they have learned. They return because they are lonely, not because they are ready to be different. This is why discernment is necessary when people come back. Words can be empty, apologies can be rehearsed, and emotions can be deceptive. Just because someone regrets losing you does not mean they deserve another chance. True change is consistent, visible, and proven over time. Without transformation, regret is just a feeling that may fade once they feel secure again. Forgiveness is powerful, but wisdom is greater. Learn from past experiences. When someone wrongs you, forgiveness is often seen as the right path to take. It frees you from the weight of bitterness, allowing you to move forward without being held hostage by pain. Letting go of resentment brings peace, and peace is necessary for growth. Holding on to anger only poisons the heart, making it difficult to embrace new opportunities and relationships. Forgiveness is not just about the other person, it is about your own healing, your own ability to walk in freedom without being controlled by past wounds. But while forgiveness is powerful, wisdom is what keeps you from repeating cycles of pain. Forgiveness allows you to release the offense, but wisdom helps you set boundaries. It ensures that you do not blindly walk back into a situation that could hurt you again. Many people believe that forgiving someone means giving them access again, welcoming them back with open arms as if nothing happened. But true wisdom understands that not everyone deserves a second chance. Learning from past experiences is what protects you from unnecessary heartache. When someone betrays your trust, wisdom does not tell you to hate them, but it does tell you to watch their actions. Wisdom tells you that a person's patterns speak louder than their words. It reminds you that if someone has not changed, the same behavior that hurt you before will hurt you again. A person who wounds you repeatedly is showing you who they are, and it is unwise to ignore the evidence that has been placed before you. Many people confuse a soft heart with a lack of wisdom. They believe that being kind means giving endless chances. They assume that love means tolerating anything. But wisdom understands that love and boundaries can exist together. You can love someone and still say no. You can care for someone and still protect your peace. You can forgive someone and still refuse to allow them back into your life. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, but wisdom is the shield that guards your future. Pain is a teacher, and every experience carries a lesson. When someone has shown you how they handle your heart, pay attention. When they have demonstrated their ability to lie, deceive, manipulate, or take you for granted, do not dismiss it. When someone returns, they should not be welcomed back simply because they apologize or because you missed them. They should be tested, and their actions should align with true change. Some people come back because they know you have a forgiving heart. They assume that their history with you is enough to grant them another opportunity. They believe that because they have been in your life before, they can return whenever it is convenient for them. But wisdom demands that you be discerning. Forgiveness is not foolishness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting the lesson that pain has taught you. A lesson ignored is a lesson repeated. If you overlook the warning signs, you place yourself in the same cycle. If you choose to excuse repeated offenses, you open the door for the same hurt to return. Wisdom calls for growth, and growth means refusing to allow the past to dictate your future. People will say they have changed, but change is not a declaration. It is a demonstration. It is revealed over time through consistent actions, through choices that prove they are not who they once were. Forgiveness will heal your heart, but wisdom will protect it. It will remind you that while grace is necessary, so is discernment. Not every hand that knocks on the door of your life deserves to be let in again. Some doors must remain closed, not out of spite, but out of wisdom. Some return to test if they still have power over you. When people walk away from your life, they assume different things. Some believe you will wait for them, that time will not change your feelings, and that no matter what they did, your heart will remain open to them. They believe their absence will make you long for them more, that their distance will create a hunger in you that only they can satisfy. They assume they still hold influence over your emotions, decisions, and life. When they return, it is not always out of love, regret, or transformation. Sometimes it is simply a test. They want to see if they can still affect you the way they once did. They want to know if they can still make your heart race, if they can still cause you to pause your progress just because they reappeared. It is not about reconciliation, it is about reassurance. They want to know that they still matter, that their presence still carries weight in your life. People like this thrive on control. They may not even intend to stay, but they do want to know that they have the option. They want to know that if they call, you will answer. If they need comfort, you will provide it. If they show up unexpectedly, you will let them in. Their return is not an indication of love. It is a test of their influence. They come back with soft words, familiar gestures, and carefully chosen phrases designed to stir old emotions. They remind you of the good times, glossing over the pain they caused. They say just enough to keep you wondering, just enough to keep you questioning whether they truly deserve another chance. They act as if they have changed, but their real goal is not to rebuild, only to reaffirm their ability to impact you. These are the ones who leave and return repeatedly. They never fully commit, yet they never fully let go. They keep you in a cycle of uncertainty, always keeping one foot in and one foot out. When they sense that you are healing, they reappear. When they notice that you are moving on, they suddenly reach out. When they hear that you are doing well without them, they find a way to remind you of their existence. It is not love that brings them back, it is ego. They cannot stand the thought of losing their place in your life. They do not want to be forgotten, but they also do not want to be responsible for truly valuing you. They want to know that if they ever decide to stay, you will still be waiting. And so they test the waters, reaching out just enough to stir emotions, but never enough to fully commit. Recognizing this pattern is crucial. A person who truly values you does not play mind games. They do not disappear when it is convenient and return when they need validation. They do not keep you as an option while they explore other choices. They do not test your emotions to see if they still have power over you. True love does not manipulate, and real change does not come with conditions. If someone can walk away from you and only return when they feel like it, you must ask yourself, are they coming back because they love you, or are they coming back to see if you are still under their influence? Are they returning because they recognize your worth, or are they simply making sure they still have access? These are the questions that wisdom demands you ask before opening the door again. Moving on is the greatest response. Not everyone deserves re-entry. When someone leaves your life, whether by choice or through circumstances beyond your control, it can be painful. The natural instinct is often to seek closure, to understand why things happened the way they did, or to hold on to the hope that they will return with an apology and make things right. But the reality is, not everyone who leaves deserves to come back. Not every absence should be followed by a reunion. Some departures are necessary, and some doors are meant to stay closed. Moving on is not an act of bitterness, it is an act of wisdom. It is recognizing that holding on to something that no longer serves you will only delay your healing. When someone chooses to walk away, they are making a decision. And when you decide to move forward without looking back, you are making one too. Moving on is not about proving anything to them. It is about choosing yourself. It is about understanding that your worth is not dependent on someone else's recognition of it. Some people leave expecting to return whenever they choose. They believe they can come and go as they please, that they can step away and find you waiting whenever they decide they need you again. They assume that time and distance will not change your heart, that you will always be available. This belief is often fueled by past patterns, by the times they left and you welcomed them back with open arms, by the moments they disappointed you and you forgave them without hesitation. They have come to see your presence as something guaranteed, not something that must be cherished. But there comes a point when moving on becomes the only way to protect yourself. It is the moment you realize that allowing someone back into your life after repeated hurt is not an act of love, but an act of self-neglect. When you continue to allow the same person to hurt you in the same way, you are no longer a victim. You are a participant in your own pain. True growth requires learning from the past, not repeating it. Moving on is not always easy. especially when emotions are involved. The memories, the attachment, the hope that things could be different. All of these can create a false sense of obligation. You may feel that because of the history you shared, you owe them another chance. You may believe that because they say they have changed, you must give them the opportunity to prove it. But change is not proven through words, it is proven through actions over time. And if someone truly values you, they will not wait until they lose you to start treating you right. Not everyone deserves re-entry because not everyone returns with the right intentions. Some people come back simply because they do not like the idea of losing their place in your life. They do not want a commitment, but they do not want to see you move on without them either. They want access, not accountability. They want comfort, not commitment. They want to keep you as an option while they explore other choices. When you move on, you send a message, not to them, but to yourself. You declare that your happiness does not depend on their presence. You affirm that your worth is not tied to whether or not they see it. You step into a new chapter where you no longer wait for someone to recognize what they should have valued in the first place. Moving on is not an act of revenge, it is an act of self-respect. It is understanding that your life does not stop because someone else failed to appreciate you. Honor the lesson, protect your peace, and never settle for repeated cycles of pain. Every experience in life carries a lesson, especially the painful ones. When someone hurts you, betrays your trust, or takes you for granted, it is easy to focus on the pain and miss the lesson. But pain is a teacher, and wisdom is found in paying attention to what it is trying to show you. There is a reason things happened the way they did. There is a reason someone showed you their true nature. Ignoring the lesson only invites the same experience to repeat itself in different ways. Honoring the lesson means refusing to let emotions blind you to reality. It means looking beyond what you feel and seeing things for what they are. When people return after hurting you, it is tempting to listen to their words, to believe their apologies, and to hope that things will be different this time. But honoring the lesson means remembering what their actions have already taught you. It means recognizing patterns, understanding that true change is rare, and knowing that some people come back only to repeat the same behavior that broke you before. Protecting your peace is a decision. It is choosing to prioritize your emotional and mental well-being over the temporary comfort of familiarity. Sometimes the greatest threat to your peace is allowing the wrong people back into your life. There are people who bring chaos, who drain your energy, who disrupt your sense of stability every time they return. They may not intend to harm you, but their presence alone creates confusion, doubt, and emotional turmoil. Protecting your peace means setting boundaries, knowing when to say no, and refusing to let anyone pull you back into a place you have already healed from. People who truly care about you will never make you choose between them and you. They will never be the source of your anxiety, your stress, or your doubt. They will not come and go as they please, leaving you uncertain about where you stand. A person who genuinely values you will bring stability, not inconsistency. They will respect the space you have created for healing and growth. They will not try to manipulate their way back in, nor will they make you feel guilty for moving on. Never settling for repeated cycles of pain requires self-respect. It requires an understanding that you are worthy of better, that love should not be something that brings you constant heartache. It is easy to fall into familiar patterns, to believe that things will change if you give enough chances, to think that history justifies holding on. But history does not dictate your future. Your choices do. If someone has shown you who they are multiple times, believe them. If they have left and returned only to leave again, recognize the cycle for what it is. Breaking free from repeated pain means recognizing your own value. It means no longer accepting treatment that contradicts what you deserve. It means refusing to excuse behavior that consistently causes you harm. It means understanding that love should not have to be painful to be real. Some people do not change. They only become better at pretending. They learn the right words to say, the right actions to temporarily convince you, but their true nature always resurfaces in time. If someone's presence in your life brings more pain than peace, more confusion than clarity, then allowing them back in only sets you up for more disappointment. Honoring the lesson, protecting your peace, and refusing to settle for repeated cycles of pain is not about holding grudges. It is about choosing growth. It is about learning from the past so that you do not repeat it. It is about realizing that sometimes the greatest act of love you can give yourself is walking away from what no longer serves you. Growth is not found in repeating the past, but in learning from it. When people return after hurting you, their presence alone does not mean they deserve a place in your life. Regret is not the same as change, and apologies without actions mean nothing. True transformation is proven, not promised. Forgiveness is powerful, but wisdom is greater. You can release the pain without reopening the door. Protect your peace, honor what the experience taught you, and refuse to settle for anything less than what you truly deserve. The greatest response is not proving your worth to those who fail to see it. It is moving forward, thriving, and never allowing the same pain to touch you twice.